Welcome back to the Daily Brief. Let's now cross over to Eldoret, where Timothy Simo is just about to speak to the LSK chairperson of the North Rift. We are reacting to the news that the judiciary budget was reduced by half to 14 billion shillings, down from 31 billion shillings, a move that the Chief Justice says will interfere with the operations of the judiciary. Timothy Simo, over to you.
Good morning, Ian. Now, in the wake of the new development, of course, that was the announcement made yesterday by the Chief Justice Maraga that the slashing of their budget for the financial year 2018-2019 will have devastating consequences, especially on the running of the judiciary, has equally attracted, of course, opinions from this part of the country. Just 2 months ago, in May, on May 14th rather, the LSK branch from this region held a demonstration at this very premise of the High Court. And of course, among many other things they were complaining is was lack of infrastructure, lack of personnel. That has to do with the number of judges that are running courts in this part of the country. Remember, North Rift serves more than at least 6 counties from the larger region of North Rift. So they had a number of issues that they were feeling had been neglected. They're demanding the judiciary just to move in and make sure that they are rectifying that number of things. Now, in the wake of the slashing of the budget that has been described of kind of a shoestring, we just want to know what the LSK thinks and whether this is going to have a far-reaching ramification to some of the demands they had actually earlier on put on the table to be rather looked into by the judiciary. Welcome, and thank you for having some time for us, Mr. Yego. Now, in the wake of this new development, what does it mean for the judiciary, or rather running of legal matters in North Rift, as now the Chief of LSK?
Fine, thank you, Simwa. Just like the Honorable Chief Justice said yesterday, as Law Society of Kenya, we are also alarmed by the action of the National Assembly in drastically reducing the budget of the judiciary from 31 billion to only 14.5 billion. That's a very drastic cut. And what is even more alarming is the fact that the development budget has been reduced from about 14 from the 4 billion that was allocated by the National Treasury to a paltry 50 million shillings. Remember, the judiciary had asked for about 11.4 billion as development funds to facilitate its development expenditure, particularly the construction of modern courts and other projects. Now, what this means for us is that, first of all, it will adversely affect the operations of the judiciary, particularly hamper access to justice and the expeditious disposal of matters. You are aware that the judiciary had embarked on an ambitious program to build many court stations in the whole country. Now that will become a pipe dream because there will be no funds to complete those projects and to start new projects regarding the court infrastructure. As you well put it, about 2 months ago we were here and we were demonstrating the deplorable standards of infrastructure in this county and in the entire North Rift region. The state of infrastructure is wanting. The courts in this region are in a deplorable state. The court building in Eldoret is condemned for demolition, yet that is the structure that we are still using to house magistrates and judges. The environment and land court here is just too tiny to accommodate advocates, and it poses severe challenges to the program of access to justice. So we address this concern. We had hoped the judiciary will factor it and therefore build more courts for this region. The effect of this budget slash by the National Assembly is that all the projects in the North Rift region, from Kapsabet, where we anticipated a new High Court station to be constructed, to Iten to Baringo, that is Kabarnet Law Courts. The same case will affect Lodwar Law Courts and Kitale Law Courts, as well as Kapenguria Law Courts that were under construction. The effect of this is that the ordinary Mwananchi will be affected in terms of access to justice. Remember that this development fund is not only for construction of courts. It is also for purposes of the project which the judiciary is currently working on, which is a project which is for related to clearing of case backlog. We have so many cases, particularly in Eldoret here. We have over 4,000 pending cases. And the judiciary had set aside the month of September, the first week of September, for a project called case backlog clearance, where we would have judges coming from other stations to assist in clearing the backlog of cases in this station. Now, with a paltry 50 million budget, it's not even possible to realize that project for case clearance backlog, which would have gone a big way in disposing of the old cases, which are more than 5 years old. So we are really worried this budget cut will adversely affect the operations of the judiciary.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. That was Zafania Yego trying to give a comprehensive feeling of how the new development that has to do with the budget of the judiciary is going to affect the running of running of the judiciary, especially in the extensive North Rift region. Of course, Ian, it will be remembered that North Rift, or rather Eldoret, comes second. Uasin Gishu County comes second to Nairobi in terms of a backlog of cases in the country. So this problem is further compounded with this just new development. Going forward, we will be just waiting to see whether there will be more dialogue, to see just see how maybe things will be streamlined and make sure that the whole issue is put to rest. Back to you in studio.
Very much, Timothy Simo, for that. And of course, that's among the top stories that we shall be reacting to, and even listening into what the Chief Justice David Maraga had to say as to how far or how badly this particular move will actually interfere with the operations of the judiciary. Now, other than that, we are also following quite a number of stories, including the fact that human rights organizations in Mombasa County are now reacting to the SGR discrimination claims, which came up about 2 weeks ago, when the SGR staff claimed to be to be intimidated and discriminated by their Chinese counterparts. Speaking right now is also NASA's strategist, David Ndi. Let's listen in.
You can demonstrate very clearly that, one, moving the port inland, the top port logistics operations inland is inequitable. It actually undermines the economy of a historically marginalized region in favor of the economy of historically advantaged part of the country. Secondly, the fact that the SGR can only operate with a public subsidy, particularly in terms of government servicing its debt, means that you have taken money that would otherwise have been used to provide services to poor people, and you're using that money to subsidize a business, namely cargo haulage, which was previously not only paying for itself, but it has also been paying for the use of the road. Because very often people forget that 18 shillings out of a litre of fuel is going to the road levy, which means that the cargo haulage trucks, which, yes, they use our roads, particularly what they call the Northern Corridor, quite a lot, but they are paying for it because they are contributing more to that road maintenance levy kitty than any other user. So you're saying that not only are you then removing that revenue from the road levy, not only are you killing the trucking jobs and the cargo logistics jobs, you are then taking public money which would have bought medicine and using it to subsidize freight, only so that you can keep this overpriced, ill-thought-out railway functioning. In fact, from an economic perspective, you do more harm if you let it stay, don't use it, and actually pay off the loans. Because then you are not harming the rest of the economy, because it is not itself providing any additional benefits. That's all I have to say.
So what are, you outlined some of these economic downfalls. What are you proposing as a constitutional expert that it won't drain the economy? As an economist.
I'm not a constitutional expert. I think the purpose of having a constitution is to set out the principles of how we shall govern ourselves. We are saying that those principles have been violated egregiously. We should not be having this forum now. We should have had these forums as part of public participation before the project was started. We tried to flag these issues, but the government did not organize sufficient public consultation, and they did not disclose all the factors. Those things are only coming to light now. The impact is only coming to light now. So our job as citizens, as these citizens and petitioners have done, is first of all to make the case, to use the Constitution to defend their rights. It is not our business to provide government with alternatives, because that conversation should have happened at the very early stages. I personally proposed alternative. I said this project is not our highest priority, even if we look only at transport infrastructure and freighting of cargo. At the time, we were still trying to finance LAPSET. We did not have financing for LAPSET. So I suggested that a better railway to evaluate whose viability would be one from Lamu to Thika, and outlined its benefits. So those are conversations we could have had. The fact that we did not have them, the government did not see it fit to do its job, because the government is supposed to do this proactively. Yeah? If there are issues which are being raised by citizens, which are evidently legitimate, the government should do this. So there was violation of process. If you look at the information on which this railway was built, the feasibility study, they are very shoddy, they are dishonest, they were done by the contractor, and there's clear dereliction of duty on the part of the government, because we have experts who could have been able to see that this feasibility study is not viable. So our job is to exercise our rights in the governance realm. What the government does to try and remedy the situation is really something that they should themselves be thinking about.
In a recent interview, the Deputy President said once the freight services pick up, yes, the project will be able to repay itself in 3 or so years. And are you proposing that the freight services should halt right now, should be halted right now, so that we can continue with the normal operations at the port, the cargo transport?
Of course, taking questions in regards to matters SGR claims, discrimination claims are among the top stories that we are following. David Ndii and the section of human rights in Mombasa County who are responding to these and other issues. Let's now follow other stories, including the fact that Education Cabinet Secretary Ambassador Amina Mohamed is launching education school boards. We shall keep you up to speed about that. And in the meantime, we're also following a report in regards to the last screen there, where we shall also be crossing over to listen into matters contraband sugar. Actually, I understand we can now listen in before we continue with our discussions.
The screenshot, which Honorable Gathuri, read the screenshot.
Put the record straight, Chair. I did not send any screenshot. But
okay,
I'm also reading like other Kenyans are reading.
Absolutely.
It's information in the public domain. I did not send.
Honorable members,
Yes.
let's
the
read
the public domain, the results and everything.
Yes. Let's read the screenshot that was given by the nation, the NTV. Yeah. because it's also good. The moment you say that everything, I mean, the information has been given to the media, we want to even interrogate how that information is also going to the media. And the nation, mercury in sugar. That was the headline, the heading. And it says, results from government chemists. Light brown sugar, more year base. 0.111% of mercury. Lead 0.11, copper 1.1, not fit. The second one, brown sugar, DCI, Parklands, mercury 0.19%. Then lead 0.1, not fit for human consumption. The third one, brown sugar, Bugoma, 0.5, mercury 0.591. Lead 0.19, not fit. Now, from the nation, or the NTV, they have reported 3 areas whereby there is mercury. We just want to interrogate the document that you have. Maybe there is another document, because this one is not reading the same way the document that you have. And that is the reason we, honest members, we want the owner of the document to come and tell us the truth. Because when you have a leading media station reporting that there are 3 areas with mercury, definitely we need the owner of that document to come and shed more light. Honest members, do it away.
Chair, Chair, I wanted to say this.
I've been given the floor.
Okay.
I've been given the floor. Yeah. I don't know why it's not working. Okay, thank you very much, Chair. First of all, let's put facts clearly. When we were in Mombasa up to Friday, we had never seen this document publicly here. Suddenly on Friday, the document appeared. And it came by way of, we were wondering why there were no results from Common Chemist. And somehow the secretary said we've received a document from the Common Chemist. We were shocked. Some of us, because we never seen it, we never had it. And at that point, we requested that this document should be officially submitted. Is it true or not? Yes. And then you actually made arrangement for somebody from the ministry.
Well, we shall keep you up to speed about how that goes, and of course certainly listening into the report that will come from Kanini Kega and his team. Meanwhile, a public school in Kasarani constituency in Nairobi is using gunny bags as desks following an influx of learners seeking to take advantage of the free primary education program. At least 112 pupils use gunny bags on a cold floor, despite the government having allocated about 120,000 shillings to the school for maintenance this year. Franklin Masharia now reports, and of course he is joining us live from the scene. Actually, this particular story was covered right here by K24, and we're proud to actually say there has been reaction to that. Franklin Masharia has more. Franklin, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ian. We are still at Jehovah Jireh. Some people call it Jehovah Jireh, others call it Jehovah Jireh Primary School in Kasarani constituency. Now, the sad thing is that some of the students or some of the pupils in this school actually sit on the floor but use gunny bags as their seats, and this is happening in the capital city. These are things probably you'd expect in the villages, but it is happening here in the capital city. And what we understand is that this is not the only school that is happening. But after running the story yesterday, the county government of Nairobi has reacted to it, although I'm not very sure whether they are the people who are supposed to take care of this. And with me is Janet Oko, the CEC in charge of education in Nairobi County. Tell us, why do you find it necessary to come to the aid of these children? And I think this is a function of the national government.
Thank you very much, Franklin. The position of the county government of Nairobi is such that we are responsible for the welfare of the residents of Nairobi. And as such, much as this could not be the responsibility of the county government, we feel thoroughly bothered that pupils could sit on gunny bags. And that is why the governor actually sent me here to come and present in the stopgap measures a number of desks and chairs. And in the long we are going to be making sure that at least every child who is in Nairobi County is sorted. It is really not acceptable that we have the kinds of conditions that we are having. But then again, we want to really give credit to all the stakeholders, because we ourselves have been supporting a drive to make sure that every child comes back to class. And this is a result. This what you see now is a result of a campaign of saying that zero fees in our schools, and saying that we want every child in the urban slums and everywhere else to come back to school. So really, it is not really a bad thing. It is a good indication that the schools have been opened up. Remember, we ran a very vigorous campaigns about levies, and now the abolition of levies have created, a buzz, in our schools. I can actually send you to a few of the schools, like even in Molem, where we still have the problem. But we are doing something about it. In the stopgap today, we've brought about 50 lockers and desks. And we will be making sure, after this, I will be making sure that I will visit all the classes. I've asked the head teacher to make sure that all the children are seated, so that we can see what are the gaps. And I'm sure our governor will be able to intervene. And it is not only in this school. What we are saying is that there is no county child and the national government child. This we are supporting each other. The national government also has supported us in several other roles. And also where we have ability, we shall make sure that we support them.
You're a person who has been in the education circles, and if we see this problem persisting in the primary school level, do you think that the number of secondary schools that we have in the county will be able to support the number of students or candidates will be churned from primary school level to the secondary school, the transition rate?
Yeah, this is a case of a bad problem, or what I would call a good problem, that we are struggling because so many children have come back to school, and now we find ourselves wondering, do you have enough spaces for secondary schools? And the answer is no. But I know there are vigorous attempts even by the national government to create day schools, like right beside here there's a day school, and I think that is the strategy, so that every child that transits from primary school at least have got somewhere to go, in secondary school. It will take us a few more months or even a year, for example, to try and sort out all these that have come to our spaces in primary school. Then also the same challenge will present itself, at transition level. So I want to say that, and I want to challenge ourselves in government, that we really must come to the ground. We must try and provide interventions as and when they are needed. I really couldn't hold back when I saw how the children were excited, just knowing that there is an intervention coming. You could see the way they really want to learn, they really want to pursue their education, but some of these hindrances, and it's what we are saying as a county government of Nairobi, that the governor is really committed to make sure that every child has got access to children, to a good education. Finally, there is the ECD section that we visited, and I want to say that in this particular school, the governor has sent a capitation of 3,815 for every child, and there are 97 children who are enrolled here. So in this particular school, last week the governor sent 370,000 thereabout.
Talking of the governor, we understand, or there's a rumor that the governor had actually donated some money and given it to a politician, a nominated senator, to come and buy desks in this school some time back. I understand she was given about 250,000 shillings, and the desks were not bought. Are you aware about it?
Okay, I am not aware, and I would not like to comment, about that. But and also probably there isn't anything that could not be done. Like, for example, she probably may have brought the desk, but then, as we are saying, the upsurge, of learners because of zero levies and so on could have. But I really would not want to comment on that.
50 desks. Probably when do we expect the students or the pupils to get the other desks? Because they are in their hundreds who are actually learning while seated on the ground.
Yeah, the truth of the matter is that we had seen the problem, and we had already begun a procurement process to try and make sure at least we sort out the most urgent cases. So in about a week or two, although I'll go around and just try and see the need, but if there is an emergency need, we can always try and see how urgently we address the problem. And if it is not so much so pressing, then we can address it through our procurement processes. It could probably take 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was Janet Ouko, the CEC in charge of education in Nairobi County. Of course, this being some of the problems which are coming up due to the free primary education. And of course, we talked to John Nzau, who is the chairman of the Board of Management here, and was saying that even the issue of elections, saying that some people are able to break into this school and ran away or took away some desks during the time of elections, and that is part of the reason why this problem has persisted. Earlier on, before we went on here, the children were very happy when they saw the desks coming into the school. They are just in a lorry just behind us there, and they are saying that actually they are happy that they will be able to be comfortable as they continue to learn. I understand there is one more person whom probably I can interview here. Karibu, just tell us your name and tell us how does it make you feel when you see now desks being brought into the school?
I'll be very honest. My name is Elijah Mbudia. I'm the MCA for this area. This is a school that we have all been coming to assist, but I have made complaints to the relevant authorities. I've made complaints to our area MP, but it fell on a deaf ear. Here, I've been coming. Children here know me. You've seen how they are celebrating when they see me, and we have various problems here. We don't have. Imagine a school like this one. We don't have any electricity. A school like this one, we have no water. We have a borehole here, which was dug, but it is stagnant. Nobody will come here to help us. It's a big problem. So I'm saying, God forbid, if there's a disease outbreak here, it will be terrible. So
but you are a leader who was elected. So yes. I'm just thinking that just complaining, if you complain, you'll just be complaining like the electorate. What active role have you done to try and help these kids?
What I have done is that I have appealed to my governor, Mr. Sonko.
But this is, I think this should be a function of the national government, not the county government.
I am coming to that. That's what I'm saying, is that I've complained to them because my complaints have gone to a deaf ear. This is a national government. Yesterday, you saw our ADMP, the way she was talking on her TV. She was hyper, she was annoyed, and she said she has no money to take care of this. So surely, if our MP, who has come here to borrow votes, says that she has no money to help these children, what do we expect? It's a national government, and we are saying that if she cannot do it, let us step aside. We will look for another alternative.
Thank you, thank you. Those are the views of the MCA from this area. Let me just call them their political views. We cannot authenticate, or they are not our own views about probably how the area MP has been taking up this issue. But the good thing is that, or the good news is that at least some of the peoples, or part of the peoples who have been sitting on the ground or using gunny bags as their desks, will now be able to have desks courtesy of the county government, but hopefully the national government should step in, because we understand there are very many schools within this area which do not have enough furniture for the pupils. This, of course, being a sad situation, because the government has even introduced the digital literacy program in schools in this area, including this school. I'm Franklin Macharia. I take you back to studio.
Much Franklin Macharia for that. And of course, we would like to continue seeing some of those pictures, Macharia. So just to have my guests to have further discussion about this. Maybe just quick comment, because I'd really like to get your comments about the slashing of the judiciary salary. But quick one in regards to this particular incident. Gunny bags is what some students were using here.
I mean, it is very, very sad that is happening to us. Yeah. But I would like to say that is happening across the board, and I have interacted with that on a daily basis, working with kids in the slums in different places. We've had to see kids learning, sitting on the floor, on muddy walls in Nairobi, in the capital. And so I would just say what we're seeing is not the first time, and clearly the Ministry of Education had no clue. Clearly the county government had no clue. Had K24 not reported this story, probably nothing would have happened. And it is happening to many other schools. And what I probably recommend is that the Minister of Education, after defense, I think it's the Minister of Education that gets the largest capitation in the national budget. Yeah. Some of that has to go into just ensuring that we're not just giving a free education, we're giving free quality education to pupils in primary school. Okay. So,
Thank you. Charles, very briefly, kindly.
Yeah, the question is, how do you pay somebody in Ruaraka 1.5 billion Kenya shillings and you don't provide desks for our kids in public primary school? It's so sad. I think public officers are sleeping on their jobs. Kenyans are being taken for a ride, and I feel for those kids. We school such a kind of schools, and I wouldn't want in the 21st century kids sitting down on gunny bags to get an education. And you can see the hope in those kids. You can see the smiles. You can see they're looking, they're yearning for a better future. And it is a shame from the chief, the assistant chief, all government officials who are involved, because those should be addressed as soon as possible. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much for that. Now, I'd like us to react to this particular statement in a reaction by the Chief Justice David Maraga on the news that members of Parliament had slashed his budget by nearly half. He says, in short, we wish to inform members of the public that while we shall continue doing our best to deliver justice to Kenyans, judicial service will this year be severely affected as a result of the budget cuts. Now, I'll start with you, Charles. You're a lawyer.
Yes.
We've already had the position of different branch heads of the Law Society of Kenya. What exactly is your personal take on this?
My personal take will be this. First of all, the Parliament was wrong in cutting the budget for the judiciary. But again, the buck stops to the judiciary. When you look at the auditor's report, there are some projects that have been flagged down as having been procured illegally. There's some money that has been lost. The judiciary should be at the top. Their levels of integrity should be top-notch, that every money they are given, they should be able to account for it. I remember during the last term for the last JEC, there were talks of inflated allowances for commissioners. Some would not attend the sessions. They were still being paid money, people looking for ways to fleece money from the public. And that one begs the question, as much as you wanted 31 billion Kenyan shillings, how much have you spent? How did you spend the one that you were given? And as we're looking into budgetary cuts, okay, we're looking at development expenditure that has been really hampered because the judiciary, the infrastructure in the judiciary is very wanting. The other day when there was a high-profile case of Miguna, we would see thousands of, hundreds of lawyers crowded in a small room. Some of them were even using papers to fund themselves because the heat is so much and such a kind of stuff. Yeah, and when you look at the infrastructure budgetary allocations, there are some questions. Some projects were begun 3 years ago, they're yet to be completed. Where the money that was allocated for those projects, how was it spent? What is happening with the contractors, okay? So I would feel for the CJ, he's sitting on a very hot seat because we expect justice. And as much as there's little money they've been given, they have to do more. They have to pull up their socks in terms of using what they've been given. But the parliament needs to rise up to the occasion and defend separation of powers. I think the judiciary needs to be given financial independence. They don't have to go beg money from the exchequer. They have to find ways of raising their own money. Even if it means some of the funds that are being given in court are percent to go to the administration of justice, that would be great.
Okay, let me hear from you, Jim. As we finish, actually.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. The doctrine of separation of powers is, as I was discussing with Charles, is true, very true on paper, but its actualization is false, because if the judiciary is truly independent and ought to act independently, you cannot have other two branches of government determining how much money they get, because whoever controls how much you get essentially controls you, and then it means you're not independent. So the cuts, it means we do not have justice being brought close to the people. You have a case from Migori, from Kisii being heard in Kisumu, a case from Turkana being heard in Eldoret, and that infrastructure, the backlog of cases, the money would have gone into ensuring that we have enough infrastructure that ensures that we can fast-track the administration of justice in our system. So it is sad that that has happened, and let's hope that maybe there could be a way that we could go around it. But for now, the judiciary is sitting at a tight position where we might have the same judiciary. They've been making very great progress, but if nothing is done about that budget, then we might have a stagnation for the next 1 year.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. I've been speaking to lawyer Charles Aholi as well as governance expert Jim India. Thank you for your time. Quite a number of stories that we are following, including the fact that the Ministry of Education has issued a press briefing under the Article 35, Section 3 of the Constitution. The Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Ambassador Amina Mohammed, is now actually presiding over the official launch of the Boards of Management training program for secondary schools in Kenya. The function is currently being held at the Kenya Education Management Institute. Joining the Cabinet Secretary right now is Youth and Gender Affairs Cabinet Secretary, Professor Margaret Kobia. Let's just listen into whatever is happening coming from that event.
Secretary, Dr. Berio Sang, and we are so happy, Daktari, for coming and for joining our CS to be with us today. So this morning, that's when the council was inaugurated. It is actually our second term. Those who have been here in Kemi, they know me. The staff here know me. The only people who may not know me is because members of this BOM, because it's the first time it's being launched. Here at Kemi, every other day, something new. Every other day, you had the director talking of many things until you almost didn't understand. How can Kemi have so many things? Really, it is what happens here, dynamic. Yeah? Every other thing, a new thing. Now with the Big Four, we have aligned ourselves, and I can assure you there are new things coming up, short courses, yes, to align and to train the managers, because the future of this country, like everywhere in the world, we are global now. Yeah? It's knowledge-based. And when it's knowledge-based, management is key. If you don't manage your resources, if you don't manage the knowledge you have, if you don't manage what, you will not get anywhere. Certainly not in this world. This global village is competitive. How do you compete with others if you do not manage whatever resources you have? You build on what you have, you create more, you preserve it, you disseminate it, and you do all those things that pertain, you know, to education, to knowledge, to everything. Because education, knowledge, we teach our kids, we teach our people, we even adult learning, even ourselves, we continue learning, continuous learning. And management is key. So that is why this institute, when you see every other time there is something new, even now after you go back, you hear of another one which is coming, another training of something. And then I'm sure some of you again come back and come back. So here, that's what happens. Back to my speech. Yeah. So again, on behalf of Council, Madam CS, we want to really welcome you to Kemi, for this auspicious occasion. Madam CS, I again want to take this opportunity to thank you again for reappointing the council members to serve in this institute for a second term. This is a great honor bestowed on us, as there is no better way to serve this country than to serve the Kenyan child. You have accorded us this opportunity, and we are indeed very grateful. On behalf of the council, I assure you of our commitment to serve to the best of our ability. Ladies and gentlemen, as you are aware, Kemi is a capacity building agency of the Ministry of Education with a mandate of training education managers of various cadres and conducting research and consultancy. In the execution of this mandate, Kemi has designed training programs targeting education managers at various levels and aimed at enhancing their knowledge and skills so as to better manage education. The training programs are designed to address the skill gaps among the education managers. Indeed, Madam CS, the BOM training program.
And that particular event brings us to a close of this live broadcast. Thank you very much for staying with us. Angela Gadvi will bring you more details at the top of the hour during K24 News Cut. Our sign language interpreter has been Clement Mullen. My name is Wafula. Thank you very much for always staying with us.